Alright y'all, it's time for another retro spotlight, and tonight, because it's Halloween night, I want to take a look at one of my all-time favorite horror video games. This is Parasite Eve. It's a 1998 PlayStation 1 RPG from none other than Square. This was a turn-based RPG, but it was a lot different from a lot of what Square was putting out at the time. Matter of fact, this will be the company's first M-rated game. And rather than taking place in some sci-fi or fantasy world, it took place in modern-day New York. Of course, modern day at the time being 1997. And playing as New York police detective Aya Bria, you set out to stop a woman named Eve from causing the human race to spontaneously combust into flames and even have their organs melt because of her powers. The game featured a lot of elements from the survival horror genre, but the combat was still turn-based. But what was unique about the combat was that it utilized a targeting grid where you could target an individual part of an enemy. I'm kind of wondering when they made like Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 if they actually used this as the inspiration for the VAT system. But the game takes place over a series of 6 days, so it's very cinematic heavy. It's got some great graphics, it's got an excellent soundtrack. In fact, you're hearing one of the songs now, and it's just fun customizing and upgrading the different weapons. Now, once you beat the game the first time, you unlock a new game plus of sorts, where you can find a alternate dungeon, and you can see the game's true ending. Now, this game is actually a sequel to a Japanese novel of the same name. While the game does reference some of the events from the novel, you don't necessarily have to have read it in order to understand the game. And there was actually a movie based on it as well. The game will receive 2 sequels: Parasite Eve 2, which came out the following year, and this was more of a straight-up third-person shooter. And there was another game called The Third Birthday. This came out on PSP in 2010. Now, I believe this was re-released on the PSN store for PlayStation 3. I think it's available on the PS Plus service for only in Japan. But hopefully Square Enix is considering doing a remake or a remaster of it soon, because this is definitely one of their most unique titles. Personally, I think Square was on fire during this time. They had some of their most unique games coming out during the PlayStation 1 era, and this is probably one of their best. Matter of fact, I'm gonna take out the probably part because this is one of the best games that they ever put out. So if you want to find this today, then if you look for it on eBay, then it's gonna cost you anywhere from $20 to $70, depending on the condition. And like I said, hopefully Square is considering putting out a remaster of this, because if you haven't checked this out by now, then please do yourself a favor and do so. You'll love it just on the fact alone that it does something different with the RPG genre.